Meza, welcome back to Vlogmas Day 9. I'm excited today because we're going to be doing something fun. We're actually going to be baking together. I'm going to show you guys one of our family favorite recipes, which is my tres leches cake. This is also something that you guys have been requesting me to make for so long now. So this is the perfect time to do it because the holidays are here. This is something that if you decide to try it, you can bring it for Christmas over to your family's houses and then you guys can enjoy it together. I know for a fact this is something that I'm going to be making for Christmas too. It's really easy. It comes out delicious every single time. So let's just go ahead and get started. Before we get started on the cake batter, you want to prepare your cake pan. I'm gonna butter this, but I'm also gonna put some flour in there. That's gonna prevent it from sticking by any means necessary. So we're gonna do this now and then push this off to the side so we can get started on this batter. Okay, you want to make sure you get every single part of the pan. It's going to get a little messy, of course, but that's alright. And then just make sure that you throw away the excess flour that you don't need. This is how it's going to look. Push it off to the side and let's work on this batter. For this cake, you want to separate your wet ingredients from your dry ingredients. I'm going to start off with the dry ingredients in this bowl. I'm just going to be adding 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour first. Next thing you want to add is 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Then I'm going to add a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Okay, mix it up really well. Once you mix these ingredients together, you want to push this off to the side as well. So let me just get my cake pan out of the way and leave that right there for now. Now for the wet ingredients, you want to separate 4 egg whites, add them into your mixing bowl, and then we're going to use the yolks later. I have my 4 egg whites in the bowl. Just be very careful when you're trying to get the whites out. You do not want egg yolks in here. Otherwise, the egg whites are not going to fluff up. And we need those to be nice and fluffy before we add everything else in. I'm taking my hand mixer. I'm just going to beat the eggs a little bit. Once you start seeing some bubbles, you can stop and I'll show you guys what to do next. So if you can see the egg whites, I just beat those for about 10 seconds. No more than that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start gradually adding 1.5 cups of sugar while I'm beating the eggs. This is how it's supposed to look. This is the consistency that you're looking for. You don't want to overwork it. You just want to make sure that it's nice and frothy and everything's mixed in there, all the sugar. You want to take half of the dry ingredients that we just mixed together. You want to throw those in there. Then you're going to mix this in there for a couple seconds. Now that we mixed in half of the dry ingredients, you want to go ahead and take half a cup of whole milk. You want to add in half a teaspoon of vanilla. This is pure vanilla extract. You want to mix that in together. Next, you're going to start adding in your egg yolks as you continue mixing the batter. Do not stop, just continue mixing it. Add them in one by one as you go. Okay, once those are incorporated, you want to scrape the sides of your bowl down, and then you're going to add in the rest of your dry ingredients. When you're making this cake, remember, in order to prevent it from becoming dense, just mix in your ingredients and stop. You don't want to overwork it. Otherwise, you're going to come out with a tough cake and it's not going to be appetizing. So your batter is done. You want to just transfer it to the pan that we prepared earlier. Just make sure before you put it in the oven, you tap it a couple times like this, just in case you have any air bubbles in there. That's pretty much it. This is your cake batter. Now you're going to put this in a 350-degree oven that's been preheated for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, it should be done. So let's go ahead and throw this in there. Now, while our cake bakes, we have to do 2 things. First, we have to make a soaking liquid because obviously tres leches, well, the Mexican style tres leches at least, is wet. So we're gonna do that right now. We're gonna add a can of sweetened condensed milk. I don't add the entire can because I don't like it too sweet. I'll leave maybe this much left. Let me measure it out for you to make it easier. So this is a 1 cup measuring cup. I don't fill it all the way to the top. This is the easiest way that I could describe it to you guys. Basically a little less than a full cup of sweetened condensed milk. You want to add it in there. Obviously you can make it a little sweeter if you want to, but for now I'm just going to leave it like that. And then I'm going to add 1 can of evaporated milk. And then you want to take 1 cup of heavy cream and add that in there too. And those are the 3 milks that you'll need. That's why it's called tres leches cake. But I actually add 4 milks. Don't tell anybody. I do like to add a splash of whole milk in there too, just to kind of loosen it up a bit. So that's about a tablespoon of whole milk. I have the soaking liquid mixed in together. Now this is the time that I'll take to taste it. If I do want to add a little bit more of the sweetened condensed milk, I'll do that now. But to be on the safe side, I measured it out for you guys earlier just in case you didn't want it too sweet. I'm going to taste it right now and see if I want to add a little bit more to it. I'm going to add just a little bit more. This part is pretty much all about preference. You know, some people like it sweeter than others. That's why I gave you guys options. All in all, now that I added more of the sweetened condensed milk, I did end up using the full cup of sweetened condensed milk, and I still have some left. That's sweet enough for me. I'm not gonna add any more to it. Like I said, if you want to, you like it a little sweeter, you can go ahead and finish adding the rest of the can, but I think it's perfect just like this. So what you're gonna do is put this in the fridge, and once your cake comes out, I'll show you what to do with this. The last thing we want to make before the cake is done baking is some frosting. Obviously we need frosting for cakes, so I'm going to show you guys how I do my homemade whipped cream frosting. You want to take 1.5 cups of heavy cream. I'm going to add in about 1/4 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. You want to throw in 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and I'm adding 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. You want to take your hand mixer, mix that up for a couple of minutes until it becomes whipped cream. Whipped cream is done. I'm going to throw this in the fridge until I need it later on after my cake is fully cooled. If you don't have a KitchenAid mixer or a hand mixer, you can definitely do this with just a regular old whisk. Whisk it up until it becomes whipped cream for a few minutes or so. Just giving you some options just in case you don't have any of these tools available to you. You can still use a regular whisk to make some good old whipped cream. And after 30 minutes, just look at this beautiful cake. It's fully done. It's perfectly golden brown and it smells amazing in here. It's really hot right now, so I'm gonna give it about 15 minutes to cool completely, because if you try to take it out before 15 minutes, the cake is gonna break on you. No matter how much you buttered it or floured it, it's still gonna break. So give it about 15 minutes to cool before you try to take it out of the pan. The cake's been cooling for 15 minutes. Just to make sure even further that it doesn't stick when I try to flip it onto the plate, I'm gonna run a knife around it. Oof, this part always makes my heart skip a beat, but let's go ahead and turn it. Yes, it's perfect. Now we're gonna add our soaking liquid, but in order for it to soak into the cake, you have to take something sharp and poke some holes in it. So I'm taking this massive fork and I'm just gonna do that all throughout the cake. You wanna take your milk, pour it on there slowly, let it soak in a little bit, and then you can add a little more as you go. But don't pour the whole thing on at once, or else you're gonna make a mess and it's gonna go all around the edges and it's not gonna soak into the cake. So I'm not gonna end up using all of the liquid that I made. I made extra, but the plate that I put it on is not big enough. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave it just like this. It still has milk around it, so that when I cut a piece, I can go ahead and take some with a spoon and drizzle it onto each and every piece that I cut. And as the cake soaks in the milk while you have it in the fridge cooling off, it's still gonna release some more onto the side. So I don't wanna add any more because obviously it's gonna overflow on my plate. But this is how it looks. You might end up with some extra milk just like I did, but that's okay. I went ahead and put the cake back in the fridge for a few minutes while I cut up some of these fresh strawberries. I bought some of these yesterday and I like to use these to garnish the tres leches cake. So I'm gonna slice these up right now. So now we can finally frost it. This cake is not supposed to look perfect. It's not supposed to look professional. It's actually better if it looks rustic and homemade. That's how they traditionally look. I'm gonna take some of my whipped cream. Put some of that whip on there. You can just take a good old spoon and smooth it out. Now, I like to put a little bit of ground cinnamon on top just to make it look pretty along with the strawberries. So I'm going to take this sifter and sift just a little bit of the cinnamon on top. And then you want to take your strawberries and just start placing them all around. Yeah. tres leches. Trust me guys, it may not look the best, but it is so freaking good. If you love tres leches cake as much as I do and as much as our family does here, you need to give this recipe a try. It comes out banging every single time. The cinnamon on top is optional. Most days I don't even do that whenever I make it, but I did it right now just for the sake of giving you guys that option. But the strawberries on top, they're a must for sure. It's the perfect amount of sweetness, even the whipped cream. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of frosting on my cake, but that whipped cream though is just right. It ties everything together. So give this recipe a try. And for all of you who've been asking me to make it, I hope that you're happy now. I hope that you give this recipe an actual try and let me know how you guys like it. We can't do all this work and not try it together, right? Put it on a little paper plate. Avoid having to wash another dish. Oh, by the way, you want to let it cool completely before you decide to eat it. But since I don't have 2 hours, I'm gonna try it right now with you guys. Taste test. Honey, if you're going to your mother-in-law's house, you're meeting her for the first time, you're meeting your boyfriend's family, take this. She's gonna love you.
Hey, when are you gonna give me some already?
Damn! Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed baking with me today. We'll definitely come back tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 10.